Hey everybody, Dawson here, and we are going to be finding the slope from two coordinate points today. And this is kind of a shortcut of something we've done before, which is to, before we plot the points on a piece of graph paper, and you find the rise and the run, and you're able to get the slope from that. But this is a shortcut method that makes it a lot faster, and I'm going to show you two different methods. One that kind of shows your work, and the other one is mostly in your head. So for those of you who really like it, to be quick and efficient and lazy like a good algebra student, then this is the video for you. Now the essential question is there a faster way to find the slope given two coordinate points? You better believe there are. I'm going to give you two. So hold on to your seats because here it comes. Alright, so here's our two coordinate points, 3, -3 and 6, -2. Now traditionally when we solve this kind of problem, we always look at the graph, and I'm just going to do this to demonstrate the very first time. And so our first coordinate point's at 3, -3, and our second coordinate point's at 6, -2. It's all the way here out to here. And we would have a line between these 2 points, and we would then draw that line between those points, and you would get yourself a line like that. We'd look at the rise and the run between these two. So if you think about it, what we're really doing when we find the rise is we're just looking at the distance between these 2 points on the y-axis. So it's just this distance between these two. We have that information right here. I know that that point is going to be, one of the points is at -3 on the y-axis, the other one's at -2 on the y-axis. So I can just look at these numbers and see that there's a difference between those two. So if I take the slope, if I want to find the slope and I want to look at the difference in y values here, so I've got -3 -2, and we have to make sure we take the difference of that, so minus a -2, and then that's our difference in our y values. But we also want to find our difference in our x values right here. So this distance on the x-axis from here to here. Same idea. So we're going to be looking at the difference in those x's. I have my 3, and I'm going to take the difference between the 3 and the 6, which is my other x value. And now we just kind of do the math part on here. So what is -3 minus a -2? Well, that is going to be, this is going to turn into a +2, so it's -3 + 2, which is the same thing as -1. And over here, 3 minus 6 is the same thing as -3. And so our slope ends up being a -1 divided by -3. And I'm going to leave it as a fraction because it's always easier to work with it in that way. And we get just 1/3. And that is our slope. In fact, it is a positive slope, and we have a rise of 1 and a run of 3. So that works really good. Now I promised you a second method, and this second method is even faster than the first method, believe it or not. And it mostly just looks at having you take a look at the points and looking at the spaces between them. So what's the space between a -3 and a -2? Well, the distance between those two is only 1, so that's my rise. And then the difference in my x values, what's the space between those three? Well, it's just 3. So from a 3 to a 6, you got 3. Now the trickiest part, that's nice and fast, right? But the trickiest part with it is you have to think in terms of the sign. Sometimes we're going to have positive slopes, sometimes we're not. So I always check it by going from 3 to 6 is going up. So when you go from 3 to 6, you're going up. And then I look at this -3. -3 to -2 is also going up because -2 is more positive. So because they're both going up, I know this is a positive slope. If they're both going down, it's still a positive slope. It's only when one goes up and one goes down that you have a negative slope. So here's my slope for this equation, 1/3, or my slope for this set of points. All right, let's try another example. Why don't you go ahead and try this one on your own, and then I will go through it and check your work. All right, let's see how you did. So if we just take our y values to start, it's 2 minus a -2. 2 minus a -2. And that's our y values, that's our rise. And then we look at our run, which is 1 minus 3. 1 minus 3. All right, well, these two negatives are going to become a positive, so we're going to end up with a 4 on top. And 1 minus 3 is a -2. which is going to leave us with, when we do 4 divided by negative 2, gives us an answer of negative 2. So that's our slope right there. Let's do the fast method. What's the space between 2 and negative 2? Well, there's 4 units between the space of 2 and negative 2. And between 1 and 3, there's 2 units. Now let's check for our sign. From 1 to 3, I'm going up. 1 to 3, I'm going up. From 2 to negative 2, I'm going down. Because 1's going up and 1's going down, I know this has to be a negative slope. And so I end up with negative 2. When I do 4 divided by 2, I get that. And that's my slope. Let's check it with the graph and see if that works too. So let me put a coordinate point at 1, 2, 1, 2, and a coordinate point at 3, negative 2, 3, negative 2. All right, so those are my 2 coordinate points. And that, now I want to find out and see if that slope really worked out or not. And so draw our line in here. And then look at our rise and our run. Our rise is 4. And our run is 2. So a slope of 4 over 2, which is 2. And then you'll see our graph goes down from left to right, so I know that that is also a negative slope. So that all checks out. Everything looks good. Okay, let's do one more example here. And go ahead and try this one again on your own, and then I will check your work, or I'll do it for you, and you can check your own work. All right, let's see how you did. We're going to do the y values, or the rise. So that's 0 minus a negative 2. And the x values, 2 minus a negative 2. These two become positive, so that becomes a 0 plus 2, which is just the same thing as 2. And this one becomes a positive, so that's going to be 2 plus 2, which is 4. And we simplify that and we get 1/2. So this looks like it's supposed to be a positive result. Let's check it with the ultra-fast method. Space between 0 and negative 2 is 2. And the space between 2 and negative 2 is 4. And now from 2 to negative 2, I'm going down. And from 0 to negative 2, I'm also going down. So this is a positive slope. Simplify it down to 1/2. Check our work on the graph. And 2, 0, that's right there. And negative 2 is over here. Put in our line. Okay. Draw that and draw that. And we look at our rise and our run. Our rise is 2. And our run is 4. So that's 2 over 4, or 1/2. It's a positive slope because it comes up from left to right. So we did it right. All right. Hopefully that worked out for you. If you have any questions, let me know. Take care, everybody. See you soon.